Mr. President, today is day 32 of Democrat shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. On Thursday, Democrats once again blocked the Senate from proceeding to a DHS funding bill, a bill, I should note, that already includes a number of reforms to immigration enforcement, more money for body cameras, de-escalation training, and additional oversight of immigration enforcement activities. And getting on this bill would not have precluded additional reforms from being added. But for the fourth time now, Democrats stopped the Senate from proceeding to consideration of this legislation. Mr. President, for weeks, Democrats have spoken about the urgent need for reforms to immigration enforcement. But it's been Democrats who have been the biggest obstacle to getting those reforms enacted. The Trump administration took a number of steps on its own, I might add, to reform immigration enforcement. And on top of that, the White House made two substantial and serious offers to Democrats to legislate reforms, the most recent of which was sent more than 2 weeks ago. The Democrats couldn't even be bothered to respond to the White House's latest offer until late last night. 18 days, Mr. President. 18 days for Democrats to even bother replying. And that offer, Democrats' third, was basically the same as their first two offers. No compromise, and still filled with a number of non-starters that would make it more dangerous for law enforcement officers to do their jobs. Meanwhile, on the Senate floor, the best Democrats have been able to offer is funding some DHS agencies and leaving others unfunded. It's really pretty remarkable, Mr. President. Last summer, Democrats threw a fit over Republicans' rescissions package that cut just $9 billion in federal spending, a fraction of a fraction of a percent of the entire federal budget. Now to hear Democrats talk, they seem to think that entire agencies, especially the agencies that secure our border and enforce immigration laws, are dispensable. The Democrat leader had the audacity to call this a moderate plan last week. Mr. President, when did defunding law enforcement become a mainstream position in this country? Now, this might be considered moderate for Democrats, but I think the average American would view it as extreme. Mr. President, we are now a month into Democrats' second shutdown since October. And like their record-long shutdown in the fall, the victims of this shutdown are beginning to pile up. TSA agents are working without pay. A significant number of agents are calling out sick, leading to long wait times and lines stretching into airport parking garages. CBS reports that 300 TSA agents have quit since this shutdown began. And that's on top of the 1,100 agents who quit after Democrats shut down in the fall. And it's pretty darn understandable, if you think about it. What do you do when, for 2 out of the last 6 months, you have to work without pay? Well, that's what Democrats have put these people through. So it's more than understandable that they might be thinking that there's got to be an easier way to earn a living. I heard from one TSA agent in South Dakota who was at the end of her rope. She writes, and I quote, "It is very hard to live without getting paid. I do not know how long I can keep doing this," end quote. Well, that's what happens, Mr. President, in a shutdown. Real people get hurt. But if you ask the senior senator from Democrat, a member of the Democrat leadership, he says, and I quote, "We are very serene with what is going on," end quote. Very serene, Mr. President. I suppose that's not a surprising statement considering the Democrat leader characterized Democrats' last shutdown in the fall by saying, and I quote, "Every day gets better for us," end quote. Very serene. Every day gets better for us. For Democrats, a government shutdown is just fine as long as it seems to be working for them politically, no matter whether it's hurting hardworking Americans. no matter if it's jeopardizing public safety and national security. And Mr. President, make no mistake, Democrats' shutdown is harming hardworking Americans and putting national security in jeopardy. Our country is facing a heightened threat environment right now. There are a few examples of that. Stryker, a medical tech company, was the victim of an Iran-linked cyber attack last week. ISIS-inspired individuals attempted to detonate bombs targeting protesters outside the home of the mayor of New York City last weekend. And on Thursday, we saw 2 tragic attacks take place. One of those in Virginia was perpetrated by an individual who was arrested in 2016 for attempting to provide material support to ISIS. The other, an attack on a Detroit area synagogue, was perpetrated by an individual who was reported to have had connections to known or suspected Hezbollah terrorists. Mr. President, this is no time for Democrats' political games. Republicans are at the table and ready to work whenever Democrats are done playing.